Knock, knock.
Who's there?
The Mining Your Business podcast.
Mining Your Business podcast. Who?
The Mining Your Business podcast, a show all about process mining, data science, and advanced analytics. It's episode 50. We have made it to 50. Oh my lord. Jakub, episode 50. How are we feeling?
We're feeling amazing.
Yeah. Can you believe it?
No.
Today, what are we talking about? Today, we are hearkening back to one of our most popular episodes. What is process mining? And giving you, dear listeners, a refresher course with more insights and wisdom and golden nuggets of knowledge that we have gained from these 50 episodes. Let's get into it.
Hello, process mining community. Today, we are recording episode 50. And that's a 50 with a big 5 at the beginning. And it's awesome because I honestly didn't see this happening where we were starting. What do you think, Patrick?
No, I remember doing 2 episodes and then, having a meeting, trying to figure out, okay, what are the next 2 going to be? And by the end of those 2, okay, yeah, that's about it, right? That's all there is to say. And,
I remember at the beginning when we were diving into topics, we listed like 4 and I was like, cool. So where do we go from there?
Yeah, we were talking about, it should, on Netflix, you have like those mini series. It'll just be that. It'll just be like a one-off. We do 4 episodes and call it quits.
Yeah,
and then,
but man, I'm so proud that we really made it to episode 50. It took us 2 years, like insane amount of time. Just for you listeners, there obviously is some work going into this. Just the recording itself usually takes 1 to 2 hours, even if we do an hour-long episode. Because we always have to sync with Patrick. We have a nice discussions and exchanges just like we had today before recording this episode. On where we even want to go with the topics and the preparation and the research of every guest. That's also something that is really time consuming, but very interesting because, you go into the depths, you check what the people are working on, you get exposed to interesting topics, interesting brands, interesting ideas, and then you have the opportunity to ask these people the questions that you really, really crave for answers. So it's really interesting. And so I don't want to complain about the amount of work that goes into it because, at the end, we do it voluntarily. And it's just interesting to see how this whole podcast is evolving.
Yes. And also, it should be mentioned that a lot of work goes on after we are done recording. Shout out to our editor. Thank you so much for all the work that you do. Yeah, exactly. And also just, organizing everything, guess, you do a lot of this emailing and organizing the meetings and scheduling and all this stuff and cancellations and all this stuff. So, there's a lot of, not the nicest work goes into this, but it needs to be done.
Speaking about credits, also credit goes to our marketing guy, Tom, who's helping us tremendously on LinkedIn, especially. And then after all, to all the guests that have been part of the show, they took a lot of time from their busy schedules just to come here to the show and talk with us, which I'm very grateful for. So thank you for that. And after all, I can't forget about you, dear listeners, because ultimately you are the people who make our show possible and who are, pushing us to the next level, to record the next episode and to improve and to offer you the content that we would like to consume and that you will eventually love to consume as well.
Oh yeah, and the response to our episodes have just been great. Every time we get a message on LinkedIn or an email or anything like that, we take screenshots and we send it to each other. Did you see this? Did you see this? And so it's greatly appreciated, and also your input to our topics and things like that also greatly appreciated because at the end of the day, we want to talk about things that interest us, but of course things that interest you, and because if we only talk about the things that we want to talk about, might get very boring.
Yeah. Actually, last week, a Spotify Wrapped was released. And it's very interesting to look at it from the podcaster perspective because there's this whole suite for podcasters on Spotify. And you get insights on who listens to your shows and where they listen from. And in 2022, there were people from almost 60 countries listening.
That was surprising. 60 countries.
That was very surprising. Yeah, just seeing the list, we can get the data on what countries those are. I think the top one is, or top 3 are Germany. There's US. There's also Czech Republic, I think, on position 4.
That might just be my mother.
True, true. Your famous mother.
Mhm.
So that was really cool, and I also noticed that over 100 people had our show as a most listened podcast on Spotify, which again something that really warms my heart.
Mm. Oh yeah. I mean, seeing the stats like that are still sometimes crazy to me because at some point you get to numbers, when you see, okay, 10 people listen to this episode, okay, 20 people have listened to this episode, and then you start getting into like the thousands. And that's
Yeah,
when the numbers stop becoming visual, like you can't visualize them, right? Like what does
true,
1,000
true.
people look like? And it's surprising. It's really,
Yeah,
really shocking when you see 1,000 people. Like, my God, they took
yeah.
time out of their day to listen to our episode. That's, really flattering.
So we better try our best. But to
Oh
put it
yeah.
also a little context, we are not really hiding the numbers. We usually have around 300 people listening to the episode within the first 7 days of release, which is very cool. And the best episodes, one episode is a complete outlier. It's actually the episode 2, What is Process Mining, which is also one of the reasons we are doing a little remake here today, because we were thinking, oh wow, episode 2, it's I would not want to listen to it because one of the comments that we are getting is that we improved over time, which
Yeah.
again is,
Is
is nice to hear and
of course.
very comforting.
Exactly.
And therefore, we thought, well, let's do a little remake of episode 2 because hopefully we can do a little better. We have more knowledge, and we can also hopefully speak a bit better.
I mean, that is for sure. So yeah,
Yeah.
those are the main reasons. It felt like it needed a freshen upper,
Rehaul. Yeah.
Exactly.
But this episode itself got actually over 6,000 downloads already, which is crazy. Probably when you ask Google, "Hey Google, what is process mining?" Maybe it gives you this answer.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but it's still very cool. However, Patrick, also a question for you. Maybe two questions actually. What do you like about doing the podcast, and what is the worst for you?
Ooh, that's a good question. So the best part is the actual recording because the when you get into it, the flow, the conversations, the speaking to the guests, they're very, very interesting people that have a lot to say, a lot of those golden nuggets of knowledge that those are the great things, right? And also the pre and post show that we have, that's always fun. So when, like the actual time of the recording, that's great. Sometimes the times that we do them are yeah, when we schedule them, it's a little early or a little late. I still remember Friday afternoons were particularly bad, and also Monday mornings at 7, also bad. Also 3 a.m. ones when I was in the US, also particularly tough to swallow. So sometimes the scheduling parts are the times are the worst parts.
Yeah, one of the following episodes will be with Marcelo De Rosa, who lives in Australia. Times, again, quite crazy. So
Mhm.
these are some of the challenges that we have to tackle. On the other hand, just thinking about it, how easy it is, it's just about time, but you can still connect with people from all over all over the world and record something, useful. So I think it's still
Oh yeah.
amazing.
What I think is really interesting is ever since we started doing live recordings with our guests live, because I think this is airing afterwards, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we have recorded 2 episodes that were live recorded in a studio, and we're talking face to face. And I think I can speak for both of us, where that experience was so lively, obviously, because it was live in front of each other, that the you can tell, I think, and it was a really, really nice experience. And now I also only want to do live recordings all the time. So yeah.
Well, the good news is, Patrick, that I am lining up some guests for live shows.
I know.
I don't wanna
No
jinx it,
spoilers.
so I'm not gonna say the names. But I can already say that because those are episodes that we've recorded, that we will have a process improvement manager from a major pharma company in a future episode, 51. And we will also have a Heineken Center of Excellence team, which you've probably already seen on our social media in episode 52. So those are already confirmed things that we've already recorded, and it will be very, very cool. But there are also some other companies that I'm, talking with, who would like to come on the podcast, and we are just fine tuning the outlines and what we would like to talk about, because we don't want to give you always the same topics, right? We want to focus a little bit more on certain things. We will also have a product mining company coming in, which will be very cool because these are some of the topics that we are being challenged with in our own implementations, and it will be very cool to hear their opinion on that. And then, well, finally, I would really like to bring the CEOs of the major players, be it Signavio, be it Celonis. That would be a really, really cool achievement for
and
me.
by that, I mean, I hope you mean not all in one podcast and have them duke it out.
Oh, hell yeah. It would be amazing. Panel discussion. So why do you think that you're the best and why do you think that the competition sucks?
Yeah. Well, I think it would be a nice discussion, but I don't think that in terms of a scheduling thing that will ever happen.
No, but we can dream, Patrick. We can dream.
Yes, of course.
Dreaming where we also, when it came to this episode, so we had multiple ideas on how to grasp this whole concept because we wanted episode 50 to be something special. I'm not sure whether us talking about what have been doing for past 50 episodes is special, but let's hope it is. What we wanted to do, we had a couple of ideas. We wanted to do like a snippets or just a little cuts of our best content from the previous 50 episodes. But then at the end, if you already heard it, you don't want to hear it twice. Why would you? So that we just pushed away this idea. And then the second idea, what I really got excited about, because I was so enthusiastic after visiting a couple of conferences in past months, I was thinking like, this is amazing. Let's just bring everyone on. So what I did, I just wrote on LinkedIn, process mining community, we want you to get involved. And we had a question for them that we wanted them to answer on a video. What does process mining mean to you? Which is quite personal. I don't know. Would be difficult in any case to answer this. And unfortunately, the reception was very bad. So as you can imagine, we got exactly one answer, which was a little disappointing. So not everything we do is a success. We have some unfortunate turnouts of events as well, and this was one of them. However, since this is someone who already appeared on the podcast before, Václav Šlapka from Škoda Auto, we want you to listen to it now because I think it's really, really nice. So here we go.
Hello Jakub, hello Patrick. For me, process mining means door opener to value hidden in our processes, as well as possibility to explore another competitive advantage. And also, process mining is amazing community around the world, which is creating amazing content for everyone.
So what did you think? I think it was very, very nice. And I'm glad, Václav, if you're listening to this episode, that you left us this message.
Yeah, thank you for participating. And again, I mean, it's of course asking people to take some time out of their day for something, that isn't really at the top of their priorities is difficult. So I expected a low response, but Václav, thank you for taking the time and sending us that file. Thank you.
Yeah, we will probably try this again at episode 100. So just if we make it to episode 100.
Well, we set that at episode 2 if we make it to episode 4. So
yeah, true. So it's just double or nothing, right?
Exactly. We'll just keep going. How long did it take us? How long? When did we actually start? How?
It will soon be 2 years, Patrick. I think in February it will be 2 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's
so much has happened.
So much time has passed. Oh my god.
Yeah. So do you want to get into the actual topic of today's episode?
Okay. Let's get into it. What is process mining? Oh boy. This harkens back memories from the second episode.
Yeah, and again, just to give you a little background on this, I also asked on LinkedIn and community, and the answer for this was like all over the place. Some people wanted to go more into the technical explanation of what it actually is. Some people were saying that this is just a subcategory of a bigger discipline, which is business process management. So the answers were really kind of
varied,
exactly. And so what we want to do is kind of rethink about what we were saying in episode 2. We are actually using the same show notes so that we can see where were our ideas and thought processes back then, and we will try to frame it once again. So what is process mining? So for me personally, process mining is a discipline. It's an analytical discipline for discovering monitoring and eventually improving business processes, although not only business processes, but any kind of processes, by extracting the relevant data and putting them together. It's probably as simple as that. And what I also want to mention, what I didn't know at episode 2, but know now, that process mining is a part of other disciplines. It's you can see process mining as a subcategory of a business process management, a huge area, a huge topic that has been around for years, and that process mining very nice complements and brings up other views into this discipline. And that process mining is also a subcategory of data science, because ultimately what you're doing is that you're analyzing or interpreting data in a certain way, using process mining algorithms, how you're putting it together. And you are getting some kind of a scientific, or not really scientific, but really fact-based results out of these algorithms. So these are two interesting or very important mentions, that process mining is just not really a standalone discipline, although it almost appears this way for an outsider, but it is really a subcategory of other extremely interesting and variant topics.
I totally agree with you. This is part of the whole idea of process mining, that it's a standalone thing. You can just plug and play into your thing and it will just solve all your problems, and you don't really need to care about how your business processes are managed in the first place, because it just gives you an x-ray and then you can do all this fun stuff. But the key word being the process, and the process mining, there needs to be some sort of process that you have defined and need to look at, that you need to manage and improve, or revamp, or the life cycle of processes, right? There needs to be something in place for all of that information that you get from process mining to make sense, right? It needs to be placed in a context of your entire enterprise. And without the business management, that business process management context, the process mining can work for sure. You can use it as a standalone tool, but I would argue it's not nearly as effective if you were to place it in that context. So yes, it's like a tool in your toolbox of managing your processes efficiently.
Yeah, and one of the explanations, or one of the ways that software vendors are explaining process mining to wider audience, is that they're saying that process mining is an X-ray of your business. And honestly, I couldn't agree with this definition more. However, and that's just an idea I got right now, if you think about X-ray in a real life, if you're a doctor, X-ray by itself won't do anything for you. You can X-ray your leg, but if you don't have anyone to interpret what you're actually seeing on this picture, if you have no one to operate the X-ray for you, you are probably up for a trouble, because it's actually quite dangerous to work with an X-ray.
Yeah.
So if you think about it in this context, you get a very powerful tool, an X-ray, if you want, in process mining tool. But if you cannot operate it, if you cannot create a system around it that translates the result and takes actions on the result, such would be supplemented by a doctor, if you were if you had something, if you broke your leg, then you have just a tool that can do interesting stuff, but you don't know what to do with. And that's why creating this whole ecosystem around process mining and inserting it in where it really can do wonders is crucial for any success.
Yeah, and this is a really good point you bring up. So the X-ray is, and I think the actual X-ray and looking at it is a really good analogy, because anybody can look at a bone or like your femur or something and see if it's broken. Okay, cool. You might not need a doctor to tell you that your leg is broken. If you go in with an X-ray and you see a broken leg, you probably already knew that your leg was broken before you went to the doctor, right? But it's the expertise of the doctor and all the knowledge and experience of the doctor that are really helping you interpret the results of your X-rays, right?
Yeah.
And in the same way, you can then. So again, it leads back to the people behind the tool, right? So this is one of the key things that I think you and I have both learned. It's like it always comes back to the people, right? Always, regardless of how fancy your tool is, all the technical stuff that you can do and all the stuff, it's all fairly worthless if you don't have the right people, this expertise, this experience to help you take all this information that you can now see through this X-ray and helps you do things with it and effectively do things with it. Not just, okay, broken bone, let's go, I don't know, use duct tape or something. No. It needs to be like something that has been proven true, and with this expertise and experience that you have informed decisions about what to do when you see inefficiencies in your process.
Patrick, I have a challenge for you.
Shoot.
When I was posting that we will be recording this episode, I got a very interesting request or questions, or actually a challenge from Tim Bosman, who will be a guest on our show in 2 episodes, who said, guys, let's try a 30-second pitch, elevator pitch to an executive to explain what is process mining and why he needs to care. Would you be up for a challenge, or would you rather go explaining X-ray and a hospital and just lose the attention?
I like the X-ray idea. All right, let me try it. I didn't prepare. Let's go. Okay, ready?
Let's go. You're on a clock.
Okay, ready and go. Okay. Have you ever thought about what parts of your business are running inefficiently? Have you ever wanted to figure out what one person is doing wrong so you can fart? No, that's a joke. No, okay. No, let's start. No.
I thought that's a ad for Coca-Cola.
No. So essentially, it would give you the view of your business and find the parts that are working not as efficiently, and find the capital, the value trapped inside your business that are not allocated well, so you can reallocate resources more efficiently and get your business running faster than ever.
I like that.
If I had to put on my pitch hat.
I like that. I mean, giving a pitch about technology that some people, or, it took me a while to even understand that myself. And giving a 30-second pitch is very difficult in general. So I think that's a good one, Patrick.
Okay. Right back at you. Let's hear it.
You also want me to do my 30-second pitch? Yeah. Okay, so process mining is amazing technology that enables your organization to gain super interesting and actionable insights in terms of your processes. You can improve, you can analyze, and you can enhance the way that your business is running, make it running smoother, and gain tremendous value from parts of your process which you didn't even know that you can get any value of.
That's nice. I like it. Well, you know what I noticed? That for both you and I, we didn't really mention that, like, we could be speaking about any BI tool and it would all be the same.
We didn't really say what process mining is, right?
Yeah. Man, this is difficult.
This is difficult. You, Tim. Yeah, Tim, thank you for this one. So if you're ever asking me for a 30-second pitch for an exec, well, this is what you might get.
Yeah. Well, it's a difficult concept to encapsulate well in 30 seconds. I'm sure there's people that can and have managed in 30 seconds to encapsulate all the things that process mining is used for, where it belongs in your business, and all these things. It's relatively difficult to do in 30 seconds.
Speaking of like explanation of process mining, if we drop this, let's say, high-level talk about what it can do for you and where to put it, we can also explain a little bit what it means and what it does from technical perspective. Not too much into the depth, but mentioning what is important and how does it actually work. And this is the part where I think we can get slightly technical. And I actually will read a comment from Pekka Mönnistö, who also interacted with my comment on this episode, who says that, process mining bases everything on transactions itself, which is a very interesting thought. And again, something that is worth mentioning. And the visualizations are done solely for the purpose of humans to analyze and see what happens in the different parts of an organization and systems. Patrick, how would you explain process mining on a technical level then?
Okay. Well, first of all, we must start with some base. And that base is, with process mining and a lot of other tools, always data. Data must come from somewhere. It must originate somewhere. It has some sort of, and the data represents an event, right? Something that happened inside your business, right? A lot of things happen inside your business. People order stuff, people sell stuff, blah, blah, blah. A lot of things happen. These points of time, these events must be captured somehow, right? Usually inside an enterprise resource planning instance that they have running in their enterprise that captures all these things, that allows them to do material resource planning and all these wonderful things, right? A lot of companies have this, right? They have a whole bunch of data that they've just accumulated over the years about all the going-ons in their business, right? So once we have a good basis of data, we can take that data and we can find these events in the data and string them together, right? Because we're placing them in relevant context, right?
So these would be your transactions then.
Exactly. So for example, we create an invoice, right? That's an event. That's something that happened. And then at some point, when we sent the invoice, that's another event. We have created it, we have sent it. And what happens when you send an invoice? Well, hopefully it gets paid. So at some point, there'll be another event that is the payment of this invoice, right? So all these events are happening in different parts. And then we can use references, right? So connections between these points, these events, to tie it together so you can see it in one process and you can say, okay, at this point in time, I created it. At this point, I sent it. At this point, it got paid, right? And then you can look at that. Oh, how much time happened between them? And not just for one invoice, but for all of them potentially.
So technically, what you're saying is that you're trying to string together pieces of events that are happening for some unique object in your system that you're trying to track, be it an invoice, be it a sales order, be it a coffee bean, our favorite example from episode 2, that you are trying to look backwards, but also forward in time, what was happening for a specific unique identifier, unique object in your process.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is 100% correct. So it's very interesting because just on the 3 events that I've mentioned, because this is an obvious question. Okay, you make an invoice because that's what businesses do when they sell stuff. They make an invoice. Okay, what then do you need to do? Well, you need to send it to the person or the company, and then at some point it gets paid. That is, in very short, the accounts receivable process in a way, right? So in that, you've already described with just 3 activities the basis of an accounts receivable process, right? With just 3 simple steps. And those are all logical conclusions that you can draw from just saying, okay, what object am I looking at? In this case, an invoice that we've created. Well, how does it live inside my business, right? What's the life cycle of it? How long does it take for me to get paid, right?
Yeah. And interesting is that you could do this analogy and you could put these information together even in a system, in SAP or in some other ERP tool. You could literally track your object through the system one by one. And that's the point. Like seeing the references, you can always somehow read out from the system. Sometimes it's not as straightforward or it's just fairly difficult to do. But with some major processes that you probably all know, be it purchase to pay or order to cash or accounts payable, you know what purchase order resulted in what invoice. And you can actually track this in the system. That's fine. But just doing this manually would take you a couple of minutes, at least if you're a skilled SAP user, maybe a little longer if you are seeing SAP for the first, well, if you're seeing SAP for the first time, maybe you would never get this information out of it.
Yeah, maybe. I would also like to point out the visualization part of this comment that is done solely for the purpose of humans to analyze.
Yeah.
That is also true. I mean, we can only put it in context because, again, we are speaking to the doctor. The doctor is only seeing the x-ray in a way so that he can interpret it. Like the actual bone and everything looks different than it does on the x-ray, and it's done solely for the purposes of analyzing the issue or something that you have, right? So it's all, at the end of the day, all becomes visualizations for humans to interpret and make decisions.
Not to mention that the doctor probably doesn't know how the x-ray works in the first place, or he might have an idea, but it's not like he could go and fix it if it stopped working. That's why you have those different teams that are supporting you with certain knowledge. And as you mentioned, then what you do then is once you string these pieces of information together and you create what we call an event log, where you basically track your your unique object through the system, see what happened to it. You can bring it all together, not this one sales order, not this one purchase order, but all of them that are in your scope. Which is, again, before process mining, this was basically impossible to do. And you can then observe, analyze, and just look into your process from absolutely unique perspective, which is, as we all know it, this spaghetti monster, this process explorer, where you are looking into different occurrences, into different cases, into different parts of your organization, all in one screen in this amazing process explorer, where you can basically see everything as on this X-ray that we already mentioned a couple of times.
Mm-hmm. And it answers one of those questions. Out of all my invoices, how many of those are paid late, right? Yeah. Or and then if you have that ratio, let's try and find out where and why that occurs, right? Yeah. So it allows you to, in a process context, see, okay, if I filter on now all my invoices that are paid late, well, it probably, and then you can see, there's some activities that are happening more frequently, these events that are happening more frequently in this part rather than the other one. So this event could be the cause of some delay. And then you can go investigate, and then you can talk to all the people that are responsible for putting these events in or that are set automatically. And then you can go ask, well, why are we doing this? It's causing delays. And it asks you to, it allows you to ask data-driven questions to your business, right? Yeah. And this data-driven insight, I mean, a lot of these things were intuitions that people had about their business, right? We think it's getting paid late because of this reason, but we really don't know. We have an idea, you always have a gut feeling about why things aren't working that way, but now you can really come with hard evidence, because guess what? You have analyzed every single invoice and you know exactly how many are getting paid late, how long it actually takes for them to get paid, and all this data-driven insight that you can bring to the conversation.
Mm-hmm. But it brings me to one of the biggest misconceptions about process mining as a whole, as a tool, as a discipline. And that is that once you implement it, you can just get results and value, straight out of the door, which is not the case. Again, and I think I'm just going to be using this X-ray analogy from now onward, because it's amazing. Once you get the X-ray, you probably don't even have a trained doctor to interpret the results. It's not as straightforward to just go and look into Process Explorer and say, here's the tool, here are the results, poke the people around and get value out of it. It's really not as simple. It takes some practice. It takes certain knowledge. Ideally, you have to build it up, or, not ideally, but you simply have to build it up. It takes a little bit of time. And that's where you are kind of, creating your own doctors in the company who are able to read the results, who are able to step a little back and look at the process as a whole, but also zoom in and look at certain parts of the process that they might be familiar with, and then can actually translate these insights that they're seeing into some actions or actionable information. Because at the end of the day, process mining is a tool. Can generate a tremendous value, and each of these sort of process mining vendors are going in different direction on how they want to do it. Again, interesting to see, but ultimately you are still kind of stuck with your data, with your process, and without acknowledging that you need to build up the knowledge, you need to build up the mindset about how you look at the data and what you do about it, how you act afterwards. You will be just left with an X-ray that has zero meaning to you.
Yeah, and this is a good point. The X-ray doesn't fix the broken bone, right? It's not just the doctor scans you and you're fixed, right? The tool does not help you fix your process inefficiencies. And it's such a good point, because a lot of the people that are, or the companies that have now implemented process mining, are needing to approach the way they improve these things in a brand new way. Right? Because now they have this data, and okay, how do we best go about using all this data and this insight to better, and it's a different way of improving your business, right? I mean, depending on the business, of course, some have established business process management and they're more business process focused, right? But for a lot of, I would say, smaller companies and things, these are really things that kickstart a lot of the business process management in a new way. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's just that the fact that, and as Will van der Aas would have said it, it's this intersection and a bridge between data science, where on one side you have these algorithms, machine learning, data mining, and whatnot, and the other part of this intersection is the operations management. That's the business process improvement, management process automation, and workflow management. And process mining as a tool kind of brings these two worlds together. Sometimes they struggle. Sometimes there is a clash of ideas, of approaches, of even egos. Because, if you've been doing something for a very long time, certain way, and suddenly you have this new way, they're like, well, it's just a new toy in the field, so let's just forget about it. And that's in itself is unique about this technology, that it brings these two worlds together.
It's also unique in the maybe not unique, but I also think it's worth mentioning that it comes very close in terms of the KPIs to the things you do on a day-to-day basis, right? Because the things that you do on a day-to-day basis are, maybe I'm responsible for creating invoices, right? And sending them. And now we're looking at that with like a fine-tooth comb, and we're going through everything that you've ever done in the business, and we're telling you if it's bad or good, right? So it goes very close to the actual work that people do. I mean, especially if you consider task mining, things that actually look at keyboard strokes and applications you open and close and things like that. It goes very, very close to your actual, almost life that you're executing at work. And that comes a little bit too close for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. It can feel like it's a bit invasive in that sense. So I think that's why it's also fairly unique to process mining in comparison to other BI tools anyway.
Mm-hmm. So in a nutshell, process mining, maybe I'll try this 30-second pitch again. Process mining is combining a data and factual insights with a business process management. On the one side, you are getting a very specific approach that extracts your data from your transactional systems and interprets it and visualize it in a certain way. And on the other hand, you have your business people who are able to drive some value out of these insights, because they get unparalleled view on how their processes are executed, and you can enrich it with amazing level of information and details. You already mentioned the task mining, because back in the, I don't want to say back in the days, but still today, task mining, while there are initiatives and you are trying to integrate it into process mining, it's still not as common. At least I haven't seen it that much. But it's definitely going to happen at some point, because you want to know what happens between the moment you create an invoice and you clear the invoice. Some, as you mentioned, the clicks on your strokes on your keyboards, because those are also interesting insights, which are still not as ingrained into process mining, but I think we will see it more and more often in the future. And you are really trying to create a digital twin of your process, of your business process, where you know exactly what happens, why it happens, when it happens, and how it happens. And that's a unique thing to have in your hands if you really want to steer your business forward.
And I think also this is a good point to mention. I also wanted to mention this earlier for the basis of the data. The data that we feed into the process mining algorithm, all the insights that are based on it, are all based on one assumption, that the data is accurate, right? Is that the data represents reality, right? Mm-hmm. Because if it's like 75% of the reality, then your insights are only based on, it's 75% of your insights that you could make, or even or there's information missing, which could impact your analyses, right? So it's it can only really analyze and really interpret well the information and the data that represents reality. And all the things that are happening outside of the data, all the things that aren't tracked in systems and things like that, well, that's just gone in the wind, right? You can't see things that you don't have, right? So there's gaps there where the information just isn't there, and process mining cannot help you find it. I mean, you can have a guess, right? You can venture that probably something happened here, but it won't really tell you what, because the data isn't there.
Yeah, and what I found also fascinating is where this whole discipline is going and what kind of opportunities it's opening up. Because the main focus is still like you want to identify inefficiencies, you want to reveal the root causes, eventually quantify the impact, because if you're trying to do some enhancements, some improvements on your process, you want to know by how much you improve. And again, I would love to refer to an episode with Jean-Marc, who actually bases all of his implementations on this value framework. He doesn't go into implementing a thing before he and his team actually quantifies what can they get out of it. And then you have these insights which help you understand on how to fix these problems. But then again, knowing where the problems are is pointless without a plan on how to fix them. And that's what I already mentioned, that it's super interesting to see how different process mining vendors, but also organizations, are then inserting process mining into their business process management toolkit. Because, if you're going into organization where there's a large enterprise, there is a high chance that they already have BI tools in place, RPAs, probably they are even testing multiple process mining vendors. Who knows? And the key to this success is to have the overall picture on what you want to use these tools for. Because I think we've all seen it before. When you give different tools to different teams, they might regress to using the tools for the very same things that the other teams is using it for. So eventually you will just end up having two tools showing you two same reports, but with different numbers, which is also ridiculous. And then you were like, I don't know which number is correct, and I don't even know why.
Exactly. And that makes you question everything, right? Yeah. How can the same things tell me different things, right? And then, well, if one is wrong, are both wrong? What's the right answer, right? So, I think it also, you bring up a good point. The actual work goes in afterwards, right? After you've identified your inefficiencies, that's when the actual work comes in. That's when I would argue even the hard work goes into, because you need to now establish where you want to be instead. That, and also change is hard, right? Change is difficult. And in order to change, we've done some episodes on how to change and why change is hard and things like that. And it really showed that the change part is the make it or break it.
Yeah. And so while you can undoubtedly get an answer for why questions in process mining tool, which it's amazing source of these truths for, you still need to focus on the part that comes after, to addressing on how you fix it. So why is something wrong? Well, you will be able to get to the root cause, very likely, or at least identify a couple of candidates on why things are not running as well as you would probably like them to. But then you go into this part, okay, so what do we do about it? And then you just open a Pandora's box of ideas, and every organization will go in a different direction. And I always say that, like, you can start with just educating the users on how to use the systems in a right way. You can go into the master data management, which is something where a lot of problems are hidden. Because if you're pulling wrong master data and then need to change them every time you execute a transaction, well, that's probably very pointless and very inefficient to do. So this is another approach you can do. And what I see more and more is, and what I'm also trying to spark among my own customers is that I'm trying to tell them, talk to the business. You have your insights, but ask them about their problems. What is the thing that is bothering them? Because if something bothers you in SAP, it's going to be very hard to change. Just because it's this huge ecosystem, and making a change for thousands of people is difficult. But these tools that are coming now in place are still young. There's still a lot of opportunities in them hidden, and they can help you resolve these problems just by asking the question, what is the problem? They will give you a couple of ideas, and then you go into, okay, let's first analyze it. If it's really a problem, what kind of impact it holds, because you already have the data, you already can see the impact. And then you go into solution mode. And that's what I was saying. You can start with the education, you can fix your bugs, but you can also, and some of the tools are offering it, go into very much action mode with what you already have by triggering certain events, be it just triggering some bots in the system to do the work for you, or just creating this bridge for the people who are using the tool to trigger certain actions, to create action boards and so on, which I think it's also fascinating to really then pinpoint these small parts of the process and try to enhance them one by one.
I mean, what good is a doctor if they tell you, well, you have a broken leg, and okay, thanks, doc. Now what? I don't know. You have a broken leg. So identifying is one part. The fixing is the more crucial one, because at the end of the day, you want your broken leg to be fixed. And actually, I mean, this is where the body analogy kind of breaks down, because I think you would want a better version of your leg that doesn't break. Or something like that. You put in bionic legs or robot legs or something. I don't know. But that's the crux, right? That's, I think, what we're getting at is the solution to the problems. And that's, I mean, we're not there yet, but I think at some point in the future we'll have some form of solutions to these problems where the process mining can suggest potential solutions to these problems.
And not to mention that even this doctor won't give you one recommendation that just solves it all. You will probably get a cast on your leg. You will probably be asked not to do any sports, to take it easy when your cast is off, but also maybe improve your diet. And this is exact same trigger effect that process mining can cause, because with very high likelihood, there will not be one problem or one reason that when you fix, everything will just run smoother. And then I'm just getting back again into this, the cycle of improvement, because that's a never-ending game. You will fix something, but something else might break. Or you do some changes in the system that just trigger unforeseen changes. And that's when process mining is so useful, because it can, on a continuous basis, analyze this, benchmark it, watch for inefficiencies, the times that take to execute certain transactions and so on. And that's what I mean when I say that it's really just an X-ray, and everything around needs a skillful personnel to run.
And you can really go down the rabbit hole once you really get into the weeds and start investigating everything in your business. When you have everything connected, you can really get lost in the analysis and finding problems. Have you ever seen that one Malcolm in the Middle episode where the father goes and he opens a drawer and it creaks, so he tries to smooth it out. He goes to the garage, wants to turn on the light, but the light bulb is broken, so he goes for the light bulbs and can't find anything, and so he then drives to the store, and and he initially just wanted to fix the drawer, but he's now driving to buy a light bulb, right? So you can really go down the rabbit hole of trying to fix things, and that leads you to other problems, and it leads you to other problems and things that you can identify.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't seen this episode nor the show, but I think it's a very good analogy.
Okay. Shall we get to more questions?
We did get some questions from Danish Majid from Celonis, who is asking us actually 3 things. I think we already answered most of them in our little rant about what is process mining.
Yeah, I think you could call it a rant.
But the first question is, what is the role of process mining in business today? I'll take this one. It's the role is that it helps you execute your processes and see your processes from a high level perspective, and helps you understand what is actually happening. I cannot imagine an organization that would not want to have a clear visibility into what is happening. I would hate it in my own life. I love data. When I always walk around with my step, with my watch that is measuring every step I take, and I love then looking back into history. What was my average per week, and so on. And the same applies for organizations. If you're a manager, you want to know what is happening and why. You don't want to just see a number, a KPI. This is how we perform, but you also want to ask, okay, can we do better? Can we do worse? Why? Why not? And this is what process mining brings on the table if it's used correctly and if you are able to translate the results.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. A KPI is nothing without a goal or even an interpretation of is it good, is it bad, and where are we trying to get to.
Right. So
So
the second one, Patrick, you want to take it?
Yeah. So he asked, how does it reveal what dogs are not barking? Something that BI struggles to do. And dogs are not barking is one of those concepts of how do you know what's not happening, and why. It's a little bit, you have to twist your head a little bit, but from a process mining perspective, and figuring out, for example, would you like to give an example, Jakob, of what this is? Dogs are not barking.
You can take this one. I didn't quite get that.
So, for example, if you have some sort of alerting system, where or maybe a ticketing system where you get user tickets because there's problems, incident management, something like that, and you get tickets and all these things, and at some point, there's no more tickets. So one is either everything's working fine and nobody's complaining and there's no tickets, or people can open the ticketing site and actually submit the tickets, right? It's either one of those. And so that's the dogs are not barking. So it's not the fact that you're what it appears to be like you have no more tickets, you're doing great. Well, it's just the people can't submit them. That's the problem. And so, I mean, from a technical perspective, process mining and other BI tools are in the same boat in this case, right? If there's no data coming in or something, right, you just won't see something, right? But I think from a process perspective, I think it could be a little bit interesting because if you look at activities A, B, and C, and they're usually all within 3 days, and A is followed by B almost always, and B is always followed by C, then the event of C is the one that you're looking at, for example, then knowing that B happened, but not C, for quite some time can be an alert, right? Usually we have C, but all of a sudden, a lot of the A to Bs aren't leading to Cs, right? So in that type of process context, you might get a little bit of an answer, but even then, it's still not the most indicative, solution to this problem.
Right. Well said, Patrick.
I tried.
And let's go to the last question.
Yeah.
Was examples of how process mining has driven frugality and helped companies do more with less.
We have differing opinions on this.
To be honest, this is not an easy question, and I will probably frame it and answer it from the other way. Process mining is an investment. It takes money, it takes effort, and it takes a lot of education to make it a success. Driving frugality is amazing, but you have to build up the knowledge to even be able to leverage it first. It will not happen overnight. It will not happen probably even from month to month, and it takes time to build. And so what I'm trying to say is that you first have to invest to be able to save something down the line. And therefore, for me as a when I see some of the sums that are being thrown around, how much implementation costs, how much the tool costs, I can't imagine this being a frugal thing to do. But I also don't run big enterprises, so I don't know how big of the drop these costs are for the company. So that's, for me, I cannot really judge that. But if you adopt this mindset of continuous improvement, I am 100% sure that you will be able to drive your processes more frugal, and you will be able to react on global events such was coronavirus recently, where your whole supply chain just went to from 100 to 0 in a matter of days. And if you already have adopted this mindset of how you can execute and run your processes, then I am 100% sure convinced that you can get more value out of it than a company that doesn't have this in place.
Yeah, agreed. However, I would like to challenge the word frugal. I think if you were to take a process of me driving to work in my car, and I take the worst route imaginable, I take highways in the opposite direction, and eventually it takes an hour to get there. And then somebody says, well, you can just take this road and you'll be there faster. I wouldn't say, oh, that's such a frugal idea. You're not being frugal, you're eliminating inefficiencies. If you want to call that being frugal, I think that's more of a active part of saving what needs to be saved. And not necessarily, hey, this is an inefficient process. Let's make it more efficient. We're not being frugal. We're just being smart.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, you can save money in your processes overall, but at the end of the day, you're just freeing up cash to spend it elsewhere.
Exactly.
So frugality is a word that threw me when reading this question. That went through me. So I hope that answered some of it. But yeah, if you can obviously save parts or manual work and all these things and labor costs and everything, and run your processes more leanly, then yeah, of course that frees up cash, and you can not staff so many people on this and allocate them elsewhere, right? But you're still allocating them elsewhere, right? So you're not really being frugal. You're just allocating resources around, really.
Patrick, don't you live next to the office?
I know. I'm a terrible driver.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Cool. So those are the questions from Danish. Thank you for those. Really appreciate it. And I think that's a nice wrap of our episode. Patrick, I think, I will probably leave the judgment on our listeners, whether this was a better or worse than our episode 2. I certainly hope that we got a little more inside of this, and we don't see the topic as black as white as we used to, simply just because we accumulated some experience over the years and see the problems, see the challenges, but still love thinking and talking about it, really.
Yeah. And I mean, all the things that we have mentioned, these things that we have incorporated into what is process mining. It was, I think, a little bit hard to say when we started and when we stopped talking about what is process mining, but all of these opinions and things that we have mentioned are parts of conversations that we've had previously from either work experience or from conversations here on the podcast. So go back and listen to those if you feel like you need to get your fix about some of the things that we said. And yeah, speaking of course, we will be here again in the next 2 weeks talking with...
That will be your cousin. Oh, sorry, your brother-in-law.
My cousin, yeah, that would be weird. But yeah, my brother-in-law, exactly, for continuous improvement, right? And that will be also an interesting topic, something that we haven't spoken about before. And I'm very excited.
Yeah, ultimately, we don't own the knowledge. We don't own the term of process mining, and the interpretation can be very, very wide. And we love to facilitate the discussion. We have been challenged before. We have been proven wrong. It happens. But I'm just happy that we can bring all those ideas and all those opinions on the show, and let you, the listeners, eventually decide on what you want to adopt and what you actually resonate with, and what maybe a little less so. We are passionate about the discipline. I really, really enjoyed that. Love talking about the topic, and I'm just happy that you are on this journey with us.
Yeah, again, thank you, dear listeners. This has been quite a journey for us both, and I don't think we would do this if you guys weren't here to, listen in and contribute and let us know that you're listening. And yeah, thank you for all that.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. If you have any questions to me or Patrick, you can find us on LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn page, Mining Your Business. Also, you can write us an email. I just checked today. I have there 3 unanswered emails, so sorry for that. It's at miningyourbusinesspodcast@gmail.com. Reach out to us, ask us anything. If you have ideas for what we should talk about next, let us know. And if you have any recommendations on any of the future guests, we are always happy to listen. So thank you very much. Episode 50 is over. And I'm hoping for reaching an episode 100 in next 2 years. So it'll be amazing. Boy. Yeah, a lot of work to do, Patrick.
Here's to the first 50.
Yeah, here's to the first 50. If it wasn't 9 a.m, I would say cheers with a beer.
Is that not
or something.
Vodka in your glass?
Oh no, that's just water, Patrick. Okay. Could have been vodka though, right?
Yeah, would have fooled me.
All right, thank you very much. And once again, we are happy to have you. Bye-bye.